ジョン・ケウネさんは西橋州立大学の出教学助教授です。ジョン・ケウネさん、お願いします。
Now we will have a speech from our guest, Professor Jon. Professor Jon is an assistant professor of religious studies at Michigan State University. Sir, please come up to the stage.
So I was requested to say just a little bit about my background, about my time in India, my experience in Nagpur, and why I am here. Since I don't look like most of the rest of you, some people might be wondering why I'm standing here on stage. So my name is Dr. Jon Keune. They're introducing me as Dr. Jon because my last name is very strange and nobody can pronounce it, and so I don't want to torture them with asking them to pronounce it if they can't. They're doing a fantastic job, aren't they? Fantastic. So I'm an associate professor of religious studies in Michigan State University in East Lansing. So that's very close to Detroit, and I've been talking with some people here. A number of you know Mahesh Wasnik and his family. They're friends of mine. They're very close to where I teach, and in fact, Mahesh's son recently joined our university to start studying there. So I work especially on religion and society in Asia, initially in India, Western India, Maharashtra. I've been going to Maharashtra since 1995, so quite a while, and maybe 12, 15 trips. I've forgotten how many exactly, I've lost track. But altogether, I've lived in India for 4 years, and mostly in Western Maharashtra. I've studied Marathi and Marathi literature. मी थोडंसं मराठी बोलू शकतो. पण काही वर्षांपासून मी खूप मराठी बोलत नाही, म्हणून मी खूप रसलं. आणि आता मी चिनी भाषा शिकतोय, म्हणून जर मी बोलायचा प्रयत्न करतो, मराठी बोलायचा प्रयत्न करतो, तर खूप चिनी शब्द येतात. This is exactly happening right now. Chinese words that are coming to my mind, not the Marathi words. So I think you probably also have that experience here between all the languages that you're having to work around. So I've been especially interested in how people work with religion to either support social hierarchy in terms of like the caste system, or work against social hierarchy and try to change society. So that's been the focus of my studies. In 2014, I came to Nagpur for the first time. Usually I go to Western Maharashtra, but I came to Nagpur in 2014, and the thing that struck me most there, I had heard about Dr. Ambedkar before. In fact, I was an informal student of Eleanor Elliott, who had done a lot of study of Dr. Ambedkar ever since 1960. So she was one of my teachers. I was familiar with Dr. Ambedkar and his conversion to Buddhism. But the thing that struck me most in Nagpur was how many people were coming from all over Asia to Nagpur. So not just Indians, but Japanese people, Taiwanese people, Tibetans, Thai people. And this contact of different kinds of Buddhists talking to each other, I thought was really, really interesting. Because as you know, after Dr. Ambedkar converted to Buddhism, very shortly thereafter he passed away. And so his even project of talking about what it meant to be Buddhists kind of got cut short. And I've talked to a lot of people who come in Dr. Ambedkar's legacy and who are Buddhist, who are now exploring what does it mean for us to be Buddhist. And this contact with Buddhists from other countries, I think it's a very interesting development. I've talked to Taiwanese too who find learning about Dr. Ambedkar and Ambedkarite Buddhists to be very inspirational because it causes them to see Buddhism in a new way. And I've talked to Japanese people who also say the same thing. And sometimes Ambedkarites too, in contacting Taiwanese Buddhists or Japanese Buddhists, helps them to think about Buddhism in a new way. This cross-cultural contact, I think, is very, very important. And this is something that you're all involved with. And so I'm doing research right now on transnational Buddhism and migration of Ambedkarites around the world, including in North America, but especially in Asia, because of the Buddhist heritage, and how people then make sense of Buddhism when they come from different backgrounds and start talking to each other. What does Buddhism mean for them? So this was obviously a very momentous day that we're celebrating here, the Dhamma Chakra Pravartan Din. But this happened in 1956, and here we are now in 2022. So what is that conversion going to mean for us today? You, I think, are on sort of the cutting edge of doing something new, and of figuring things out for yourselves, of having a critical mind, having new possibilities, new challenges, living in a different country. I've lived outside the US for 10 years. I have personal experience too. Living in a different country is hard. There's a lot of adjustments, a lot of challenges, a lot of trying to communicate in languages that you maybe didn't grow up with. It's a very big challenge, but it changes you. And it also potentially puts people in a more free position to change in a way that they might not have been able to do if they had just stayed where they came from. And so I'm going to be in Japan for another 5 weeks or so, and I'm hoping that I can talk to as many of you as possible and find out what your experience has been. I'm very interested to learn from you, and I hope that you're willing to share some of that with me. And again, thank you very much for allowing me to be with you tonight, and for allowing me to share in this great celebration of this very, very important day. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddhaya.
Jon Keune さん、ありがとうございました。
Thank you, Professor John.